I want to know what your name is, right? How'd you get here? Like where you are, right? Like how did you go from point A, B, C, and D? I want to know that.
Well, my backstory is I'm a chiropractor by trade. That's what
Okay.
I do. So going through school, that was my goal, is get into the medical field. I come from two immigrant parents, so first generation here, so my siblings and I. But it's kind of interesting, we grew up doing landscaping out there, grinding outside in this heat, and I wasn't about it, and I told my dad one day, I was like, it's too hot. I don't want to do this. I don't want to do this. And he's like, well, then you got to go to school, right? And for my parents, that's kind of what they knew. Go to school. That's what you're going to do. If you don't like what you do, pave your way through education. And I was like, well, I'm all for it, So I just kept grinding. I did 8 years. I got my doctorate. I opened my own practice. And my goal was to really scale my chiropractic office, to kind of grow it, to multiple locations, and kind of see myself out of that. But I didn't do that. I scaled, but more vertically, like in other fields. So I opened up a med spa. I opened up a medical practice. When my sister got out of school, we opened up a physical therapy practice.
Man, all you guys are professionals.
Well, my sisters, I got her doctorate. My brothers are educated in business, and they have their own businesses as well. But I was trying to scale, go up that way. And then I got into food trucks, just a random idea. It was
You just
crazy.
woke up one day and was like, let's try food trucks.
Well, I was driving by a lot that's near our office, right? And they have food trucks there. And I was like, well, I could do this, you know what I mean? Like, I can get the land, because real estate was on my mind, right? I can get the land, I can kind of lease the space out. But then it turned into me buying a trailer and starting, doing what we do is called my morning brew. So we do breakfast, burritos, sandwiches, bagels, and then we do coffees and teas. I got tired of pulling that trailer around, so then I got a bus that we kind of gutted. We built it all out with its own kitchen and everything. And it just runs on its own now.
That's what's up, man.
But somewhere along the line, about 6 years ago, I started doing flips. And it worked out pretty good. I started doing it on my own.
So now you had your own contracting team. You just sent them in. Boom,
Well, I
boom,
didn't really
boom.
have a contracting team. I just kind of had like a couple people that would help me out. My brothers would help me out. But I kind of just did it on my own, right? And they'd kind of, can you come help me? Come do this, come do that. And it worked out. And then a couple years ago, I started doing it together with my brothers. Almost full time, I would say, with them. And what we do is, like, for me, I find the money, I find the deal, and they're the operators. They get the project done.
Okay.
So
you got a team.
Yeah, I got a team
Okay.
now, and thankfully, we're starting to build now. So we look for land we look for flips that come with land. We split the land, and then we start to build. So, and then we just have dreams of continuing to build and scale that way.
So Cairo, small business entrepreneur, buying land now, right? And basically you're a builder.
Yeah, builder. Yeah.
Damn, dude, that's what's
Yeah.
up. Damn,
So my goal is,
a lot.
it is a lot, spread myself thin, but I got great teams, right? I got a great team, great group of people around me. All my people back at the staff, the family there.
It's all family operated for the
No,
most part?
but they're family to me.
Okay,
Right.
that's what's up.
They're not my direct blood, and not my sister is, but they're all family to me, and that's what's important to me.
what's up. That's what's up.
And my goal is to help them grow personally. But after this weekend, man, the vibe in here, the energy in here is great. Everybody has a similar mindset. Everybody's trying to grow.
Facts.
So now, like, apart from my personal goals, my goals for them is to help them grow in a sense where they all can have their own home, whether it be creatively or whatever it is. Find a way for us to get them their own home. Not only that, but because of the consulting for equity that I'm starting to do in businesses. Okay.
Consulting for equity, what's that?
So basically, through my team and the things that we're able to do with the managerial experience, the processes, the systems that we've put in place, I go into businesses and help their back end stuff. So I help them with all of that. I help them with the social media. I help them with their websites, really improve their operations. And in exchange for that, I take a percentage of their company.
Okay, so it's like the Sharks.
It's kind of like the Sharks,
Oh,
yeah, something
dude,
like that.
that's awesome.
So that's in its infancy. I've had a couple conversations I met with a lady who owns a pediatric office. Week before last. Actually, the end of the 2 Fridays ago. That's what it was. Sorry. And we just had a conversation. She's fed up with having to deal with the managers, with the staffing, scheduling. She needs improvements in her
So
website.
she's basically kind of like what we're learning here. She's an employee for a high-paid employee for her company
exactly.
that she owns.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. So, in exchange for that, I said, I can fix your problems, right? In exchange for that, I'll just take a small portion of your company. And she was all for it, right?
Okay.
Now, I don't want to be a hypocrite because, I work in my business. I don't work on my business.
Yeah.
Not as much, right? And my goal is to, again, scale out of that too, So it's all a learning process, being around here, people that are like-minded and can help you grow is kind of where we're at, But tell me your story. Like, tell me about you. Where do you come from,
I think that's freaking awesome.
Yeah, thank you. I
That's
appreciate
what's
it.
up, man. All right, so me. So I migrated here when I was with my family when I was 4 years old.
Okay.
Right.
Yeah.
We literally crossed the Rio Grande.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, literally
Yeah,
crossed
wow.
the Rio Grande.
Yeah.
I remember a little bit. I was even at 4 years old. I remember a little bit.
Uh-huh.
Like my mom. I remember we were crossing, and my aunt had me. She's like, I wet my butt. It was like midnight or something like that. Right, we were crossing, so it was pretty funny. So we got here. We ended up in Texas. Right.
Okay.
We were there for a little bit, and then we went to Miami. Right. Ended up in Miami. My dad basically was a handyman. Right. My dad could build from the ground up. Like he knows everything. Right. And my mother, she started working a couple of years afterwards. I mean, we got a little older, right? But I always saw them just basically just struggle. We could never really have like amazing vacations.
So
right?
financial struggles.
Yeah, financial struggles.
Okay.
Like we could never really do much, right? We always ate the same thing: rice and beans, rice and meat. Every once in a while, we would have like a steak, right?
Yeah,
so, funny story. I started working. I got my schooling. I went to good school to be a fireman.
Okay.
Right? So I went to school to be a fireman. I'm like, I gotta do something. I'm thinking way ahead. I'm like, I want my kids to be proud of me.
Right.
I'm like, I want my kids to be like, oh, my dad's this with a title at the end.
Yeah. Yeah.
So that was super important, right? So went to school, became a fireman, right? I got hired. I started working at this little town called Lehigh Acres back in Florida.
Okay,
right?
so you're from
It's a
Florida.
small little town, yeah.
Okay.
Small little town, Lehigh Acres back in Florida, right? And I remember my first shift, like, hey, you in on dinner? I'm like, yeah, sure, right? Dude, I see this big old steak. I've never had a steak this big. I'm on you. I'm like 24, 22
Right.
years old. I'm like, this is a steak? This is not a steak.
Yeah.
Because we're used to the Spanish palomilla steak, that
Oh, okay.
thin little
Yeah.
thing, right? Like, yeah, you want beef steak? I'm like, this is not a steak. This is a whole cow. So, yeah, it's funny as hell. I was like, wow, I
man,
can't
it's
believe
crazy.
it.
Yeah,
I was
yeah.
like, this is a steak?
Right,
I'm like,
right.
Mom, I made it. So anyways, started doing, real estate. Got my real estate license, right?
Okay. So you're an agent.
Yeah, so I'm an agent, right?
Okay.
Go back home. But, I did very well for myself. But I'm like, I'm not, I don't want to do this. I'm not in love with it.
Right.
So I'm like, let me try the whole real estate investing thing, right? So I found this amazing community, joined stuff too, right? It took me some time to get traction, right?
Okay.
But now I'm actually, got a couple properties under my belt, done
Good.
some private money lending,
Okay.
right? And now I'm over here meeting people like you with this amazing story, right? So I did all that because I'm like, man, I want to be able to leave something to my kids,
Okay.
like a legacy.
Okay.
Like I can't leave them firefighting,
Right.
right? But I can leave them my properties, right? Businesses that I'm eventually going to buy.
Right. But
Right.
firefighting has paved the road for you.
Yes, firefighting has paid the road. I
That's
have
good.
nothing bad to say. Like firefighting has been amazing. I met some cool people, got some really good friends.
Right.
And it's funny, like I got some good friends that are interested and are investing with me. Right?
Yeah,
So
that's-
I'm showing them, so it's pretty cool. So it's one like what we learned here, right? It's that ripple effect.
Yeah. Yeah.
So now you're actually helping others.
Exactly.
Right? So that's basically what got me here.
Okay.
Right?
Yeah.
So I wanted to ask you, what's the one thing that you took away from here that you're gonna implement once you get back? Well, you're from here, so
Yeah, I'm from here. I mean, the one thing that I would implement right away, man, let me think. I would work on our social media, like that presence. I mean, we got a good social media team that kind of creates our content for us now. But what we've been able to learn here in terms of, making your own YouTube channel and different tools that you can use to make that process easier, having LinkedIn, having it all talk to each other, and kind of cloning yourself, in different ways. So it's not just me and you having this conversation, it's me and 100 other people having a conversation, or them, hey, seeing what we're doing, things like that. Like, I think that's pretty neat. And I think me being a little like old school fashioned, I mean, I got on Instagram a month ago, my team was like, oh, the girls back at the office are like, you need to be on Instagram, you need to be on Instagram. Like, it's not me though,
Yeah.
But it's like, I walk in silence. I don't like talking about what I'm doing. I don't like doing all that stuff. But I was looking at it the wrong way, right? It's not me kind of floating and trying to, show off, or, hey, I have this, I have that. No, it wasn't that. It's more of like using it as an avenue to help other people, because we can all grow in a certain way, right?
No, you're right. That's actually one of my takeaways from here too. I'm glad you shared that. That's definitely one of my biggest things. It's like you're so fearful, like, oh, but I don't do that. I don't want to be behind the camera. And I'm like, damn, it's true, right?
Yeah.
Like, we help people along the way. Like the property that I bought, the sub-2 property that I bought, right? The lady was about to walk away with nothing, zero, right? We were to put cash in her hand, her and her husband, to go get something else, go be able to rent somewhere, and not lose anything.
Yeah. And you're a problem solver. Like, you change those people's lives,
exactly.
Right? And that's what PACE teaches. Be a go-giver, solve problems. And it all reciprocates itself. It's all full circle.
Yeah.
But I think that's pretty cool. I think if there's one thing that I could say that I've kind of learned for myself is, coming here, you have like a little bit of fear, or at least I did. It's like, oh man, you're gonna go into a room with a bunch of people that are like way above you, leveled up, but
which have the same fears.
Yeah, and you walk in here and it's like, okay, I don't really want to talk to people. The first day's kind of quiet. I don't want to talk to people because it's like, oh, okay, well, this guy's doing 10 times better than I am. Just 10 times better than I am. But
Might as well use them.
you're afraid to talk to them for some reason, right? And it's like, why? So you start conversing with people, you start having those conversations, and they're like, oh man, you're doing way better than I am. You know what I mean?
So it's funny to touch on that, right? So one of my biggest takeaways from here is, social media. That's by far the biggest one, right?
Right.
But for me, where I'm at in my business, where I was afraid, right? Because what we spoke about in there was like, you're afraid to let anybody else do something for you because you feel you could do it better.
Right.
Right? And it's like, you're not going to grow that way. You're not going to scale that way.
Right.
So my biggest, like the takeaway that I took from it that I'm going to implement as soon as I get back home is actually I got 2 guys here to join my team.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Oh, that's
so I'm
cool.
building out my team now, right? Because I'm like, I have so many good leads and that I can talk to, that I can talk to, help, but I try to do it on my own. I can't do it.
Yeah, you can't.
I gotta be at work. I'm in.
Yeah.
So that's the biggest thing with me here.
And let me ask you a question. Like, do you think, because we're both Hispanic, right? We're both Mexican. We come from that same culture, from that same upbringing. Like, do you think the way we were brought up creates a limiting mindset, or
yes.
And not only from like, hey, you're gonna be a labor force, or you're just gonna do this, but also from a collaborative standpoint? Because for me, like what I'm learning now, if I go back to when I started 12 years ago, when I came out of practice, like my goal was like, okay, I'm gonna build my own practice, I'm gonna run my practice, and hey, this is what's gonna feed me for the rest of my life. And it's gonna be me, like it's gonna be mine, right? Just me. But like learning here, and you're seeing what people are doing as a team, collaborative, like getting deals and PACE talks about it, like, would you rather have 100% of one deal, or would you rather have 50% of 100 deals?
Yes.
And it's true, but I think part of that culturally is a limiting mindset, in the sense like, oh, you got to do it for you. People are gonna, stick it to you or whatever, and that might happen.
Yeah.
But it's not a failure; it's a learning process.
It's a learning process.
Right.
Yeah, so I definitely would say yes. I found myself, in that situation, right? And I'm like, you got to get out of it. And I found myself, the biggest, challenge that I have to overcome is imposter syndrome, right?
Right.
Like, you're not good enough,
Yeah.
You're just a kid from,
Right.
grind,
Yeah.
from the hood. And like, no, yeah, we got much more to offer.
Right,
You know what I'm
right,
saying?
right, yeah.
So like that is so true. So yes, as being, Latinos, right, and being blue collar workers,
Yeah.
right, having that entrepreneur mindset has been such a struggle for me. Like such a struggle for me. I'm like, it is hard, and I'm still having a hard time, right?
Right.
But it's crazy that being Pace,
Yeah.
right, multi-millionaire, Jamil too,
Right.
they still struggle through the thing too.
Yeah. Yeah.
You know,
Right.
they were just hardcore honest with us. Like we struggle every day with it.
Right.
You know,
Right.
but then they have to talk to themselves like, no, that's not who I am.
Yeah. Make
That's
that
who I
mind
was.
shift change.
You know, so they have to beat that old Pace down. So yeah, like we all go through it. So it was just awesome to hear them say it, and I'm like, I go through that every day.
What is your biggest struggle now? In your
I'm-
opinion?
In my opinion, still breaking that entrepreneur. Like every day, I get up and I'm like, all right, I want to do this about, and then old Ricardo sneaks back in.
Yeah.
Old Ricardo sneaks back in. I'm like, nah. So I'm getting better at it, right? But I know eventually one day I'm just gonna be like, yo, go to sleep.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, and I think that's the big thing is just trying to, like, because we all want to grow, right? And we're here because of that. It's killing that older version of yourself and able to progress, because that's limited. We become comfortable, we become complacent, we get stuck in that rat race again, and then it's like, then what? 20 years go by, and then where are you? Not to make it about something monetary, but it's like getting your time back and being able to actually enjoy life.
Yeah.
And that's the biggest thing. But we just work at it. But thankfully, we're here. We meet people that have a similar mindset. We build teams, and it just kind of accelerates the process. Yeah.
Well, listen, no.
Hey,
brother.
it's a pleasure to meet you.
Good talking to you,
Yeah,
bro.
man.
Damn.
Take care of yourself.
For sure,
I mean,
bro.
just hit me up, okay?